Understand with Booby. You got it.
All right, here we go.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Hello, everyone. Today is October 27, 2020. Welcome to another edition of the Marvin Bennett Jr. Show. As usual, we open up with a word of prayer. Father, we thank you for another opportunity of prayer. We thank you, God, for waking us up this morning. Thank you, God, for allowing us to see yet another day. We ask you, God, that through this show, oh God, we put some information out there as we let people in on a candid conversation, oh God. We ask you, God, that somebody would take something away that will help them and hopefully educate themselves and inform themselves and just help them with their daily walk. We ask all these things in your precious son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Good evening, everyone. This is the last show for this month, breast cancer awareness, which is why I'm wearing my pink today to let the ladies know I'm with you. All the survivors, all the people still fighting breast cancer, we with you guys, and you got our support. Tonight I had wanted to do something to educate the people on some health things that was going on out there, but unfortunately the guests that I had lined up to share some of this great information with us, it would have been a conflict of interest with them putting that information out there. They are not at liberty to share that information. So I don't want anybody getting in trouble or losing their job or anything like that there, just for trying to help the people. So we're going to try to do that at another time when we get the green light to put some of that information out there that could help some of the people, especially particularly the health-wise in the Black community. So, keep your eyes and ears tuned in for that there. That'll be coming up in the future. But tonight, my cousin stepped in. I appreciate you for your time, man. We're just going to have a candid conversation tonight with you guys. As usual, if you guys have any comments or questions for the panel, feel free to put them in the comments. I'm going to be checking those while we're online. And, be engaged with the show with us. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, if you got any questions out there, just type them in the comments and we'll try to get to them. But tonight's guest is my cousin, Trelle Williams. He's from Havelock, North Carolina. I had behind the scenes, and I try to tell you people, make sure you add your comments because I really do take the time out to read them. Everything that you guys comment, I take them out. Even the text, the private text and the DMs that I get. And one of the things that one of the complaints that I had got was that I have a lot of men on the show, but most of them are married or not single. Well, night ladies, I got an eligible bachelor for you. You know what I'm saying? So feel free to reach out your information out there. You guys need a electrician in your area here in North Carolina. Reach him. I don't care whether it's church affiliated or whatever the case may be. This man right here do quality work and he know what he's talking about. But I'll let him introduce himself to you guys so you know a little bit more about him. You got it, Trelle.
All right. How everybody doing tonight? Trelle Williams here to do a little discussion with my cousin Marvin. Like he said, I'll reiterate, put your comments in there so we can see what's going on, touch bases with everything. But I don't have a lot to say about myself. I'm humble and everything, but he pretty much put it out there. So you're gonna get everything going.
All right, cool. We gonna jump in. First topic I wanted to do is because we go back and forth all the time on this whole. We joke with each other all the time about the whole North versus South thing. Like you born and bred down here. Like this for me, this is just the family roots. I was always the cousin from up north. Yeah. I always kind of laughed at that because it's like for the most part, the whole family was down here in some part of North Carolina, except for us. It's like we was up there in Jersey. So when I come down here, it's like it was still all love from the family aspect. But one of the biggest things that I always dealt with was, we cool too. I just checked this on your page, so. It's already linked up to your page. But one of the biggest things I used to have to deal with coming down here was that whole stigma. You guys take me out around your friends, or me and Aunt, we would go shoot some hoops or whatever, and they already see, the way I'm dressed or whatever. Oh, he one of them guys from up north. You know what I mean? So that was one of the things that always irked me about the South was this whole stigma of that people from up north think that everybody down south is either country bumpkins, you know what I mean, or that we think that we better than them because we from the north. Like no, that I think that's an imaginary stigma, and most of the people in the South mind because I'm like this. I measure every man according to his measure. You know what I mean? To his merit. So therefore, I don't care whether you from California. I wouldn't care whether you from North Dakota. You know what I'm saying? You real recognize real. So that's one of them things that I never liked and I always dealt with. What was it like for you? Or how? What's your take on that? Did you see that? Is that a real thing or is that like a figment of my imagination?
Well, I mean, for the most part, coming up and different things like that, it would be when guys said it was from the city. I mean, it don't go for everybody, but the ones I've come across, for the most part, they always seem like they try to act like they were smarter or had an upper hand on the country boys because they felt like they was faster or whatever, or think faster or react quicker. But we kind of like shut that down real quick for the ones that came and actually did that. You know what I mean? But I guess whether or not you from up top or down south, a square is a square.
Point
So,
blank period.
you know what I mean? So I wouldn't say that about all of them because some of them are cool, met some cool, but then there was some that you know they just had a fall in line. But I have heard that stigma with what you said when city people think we're country bumpkins and stuff like that. I guess it's just something to say. I don't know if they really feel that way, but you know, I guess it is what it is.
So in your experience, it is actually a thing.
Yeah,
And it's like I think I had the best of both worlds because even though I was from Jersey, I would spend a lot of my summers down here because, you know, all of my family on my father's side and my mother's side is pretty much predominantly here in North Carolina. You know what I mean? And there's tons of us, you know. My father mother had 15 kids. My mother had 12. So I try to tell people they don't want no problems with the Williams or the Bennett. I mean, because like when we come, we're not coming with 50 play cousins. We coming with 50 first cousins. You know what I mean? Like we roll deep. So I always had the best of both worlds. So I guess that's why I never really seen it like that because like my crew that I roll with up top, you know, one thing we always said was, like I said, real recognize real. I can't put it another way. And one of the things that I would try to tell people up north is like, now don't get me wrong. I won't say like it don't exist whatsoever. I'm just saying for the most part that from north, being from up north, that's not everybody's way of thinking. Now I do realize that there are some idiots that do think that type of way. And I've had those kind of conversations with those same type of idiots. I say, listen, man, the same way ain't nobody coming up here taking over your block. What makes you think you gonna go down to a real neighborhood? I don't care whether it's in Oregon, where's that? Wichita, Texas, Kansas. I mean, if it's a real neighborhood, you're not going in there taking over no blocks. I don't care whether you from California, I don't care whether you from no blood, no crip, or whatever you are. You ain't just coming over here and taking over. So I think, like I said, it goes back to that respect factor. You know, everybody got to respect everybody. I never came down here like, well, oh man, let me try to get over on these jokers because they don't know no better. Nah, because like I said, dude, I done met some solid hood cats down in the South. You know, when I say hood, I mean by the way they carry themselves, the way they mentality, the way, you know, the way they move. They might be from the so-called country, but ain't nothing country about them. You know what I mean? So sleep if you want to. So I think
it's like, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
But it's, you know how many times I've talked to people out and about and they come and say, well, when I tell them where I'm from, they be like, you don't sound like you from the country, or you don't act like you from the country. You seem like I've had people tell me that that they thought I was from up top, from Houston, everywhere. And I'm like, what? How do country people carry themselves? Because I get it, I would get it all the time. Like, I didn't know we carried ourselves a certain way or said certain things because I always got, you don't seem like you from the woods. You don't seem like you from the sticks, how they call it, whatever. But I mean, I don't know. I guess everybody got their own picture of what's supposed to be and stuff like that. Just like when they say cats from up north wearing basketball shorts and Tim's trying to play basketball. I guess that's just
that's a real thing.
You know,
that's a real thing. I tell people, man, for the most part, we don't take our tails off of nothing. We make babies in our tails. Like the tails is mandatory.
Yeah.
Hey, Sonda says you can't understand that because that's because you from over the creek.
There she go with that over the creek thing, but she wouldn't get up here with it. She wouldn't get up here with that. So I ain't even trying to hear that. You already know better. You supposed to been up here, so I could go ahead and let all y'all know that y'all from over the creek.
Yeah, that's like a little insider because I guess you gotta be from there to understand it. I always remember growing up though, always heard something about a creek. Over the creek, under the creek, like and like being just like, and it's not nothing to do with having a country mentality or thinking down on people, but it's like comical and like a Seinfeld type way to me because I always like when I would hear those stories, nah, you from over the creek, like nah, you from over the creek. And I like the way we imagine everything up there is like we live on a grid. Everything is about bridges, either you on a number street or you east and west, you know what I mean? Everything is on the grid, all one ways and stuff. So like when you hit over the creek, our way of thinking is we would automatically think, well, if you're on this side of the creek, aren't you over the creek to the other people on the other side of the creek, and vice versa? See, so I never understood like exactly where is over the creek.
my whole thing with that is simple fact. Okay, this is what I want all of them to understand. Okay, that side I call over the creek, they have to cross that creek to get the Havelock, to get the Moorhead, or anywhere else. My side, the north side, we do not have to cross a creek to go to Havelock or anything like that. We have to cross the creek to get to them, yes, but they have to cross the creek just to get out, period. So that's why I said they are over the creek. So I don't know.
So if you're in a particular side of the town that you're talking about, you gotta go over the creek to go anywhere.
Yeah.
What you're saying is on your side of town, y'all already on this side of the creek.
Yeah.
Got you. Exactly. All right. That cleared up a little bit. Like I said, one of these days I'm gonna go down there and do my little visual research. Because Havelock is not one of those places I visit too often. I don't think I've been there in maybe about 10, 15 years. It's been a minute. Havelock, Harlow, that whole Newburgh, that whole little section over there. I don't know much about it.
Yeah.
I just know it was funny to me. I know you don't know, but I came down here to bring in 21 with Ant. And I'm like, yo, man, at the time I was working at the airline, so I was flying all across the country and stuff. I'm like, I'm bringing in 21. Yo, we got to party. Like, we go do this up like, like video style. And it was like, yo, come on down, man. I got you. So I was like, it's big cuz. Like, wherever he at, that's where I'm rolling. And man, this man had me in Newburgh, North Carolina, to bring in 21, dude. All the places I could be, I brought in 21 in Newburgh. And it was always comical to me because the little spot that we went to, what mom used to call them the juke joints. I don't know what they call them now. Because you can't even call it. I don't even think they're big enough to be considered as clubs. So I don't know what you would call them, a lounge or what. But the place that we went to this particular night, they had a $5 cover charge. And to get in, they had a $5 cover charge, but they also had a VIP section. So it was $5 for the regular spot, but then you only had to pay $6 to get in VIP.
$1 extra.
Dude, I was like, man, where you got me at, bro? Let's keep the drinks coming, yo, because the VIP is only $1 more. Man, I
Yeah,
know this is definitely down south. Like, you're not gonna see nothing like that in the city, bro.
yeah.
But we balled out that night, man. We balled out that night. New Bern, North Carolina, man.
Yeah, the burn.
Yeah, man. So, like, you know, I grew up in church and all that. Did you grew up in church? Like, what was it? What was it like? What was your personal experience like? I say when you got to high school, like you know, I don't know, I don't want to put your business out there. I don't know all your business all that there. You can talk about that there, but like when you step away from church and you choose to live your life, and you know, what was that phase like, or what was that battle like for you personally, coming from that upbringing, being brought up a certain type of way to saying, you know what, I want to kind of go out here and fill things out on my own, and you know what I mean, just venture out a little bit, see what this world got to offer.
I mean, everybody pretty much knew me from church. That like know me.
Mhm.
Some people just know me from school, but then you have some that actually know me that was in services where I was at, heard me play and everything like that. But for the most part, I was known growing up for being in church, and nothing wrong with it, you know. But when I decided to step outside of that, it was, I don't know, it's not hard to explain, but it's like it it almost happened without well, pretty much happened without me even thinking about it. Pretty much, like it was like this is what I got to do, so everything else out the window. But I know that with everything that was going on, it was the prayers in the church that didn't allow anything really crazy to happen.
Mhm.
Even though I know I was doing wrong and stuff like that, but I do know that it was because it was the very same prayers that I would run from is the ones that kept me from really getting to something crazy, you know. So, but even with that, I will always think back and like I could be driving or whatever, windows down, music up, and I will always resort back to, man, I know I ain't supposed to be doing this, or I know I ain't supposed to be doing that, but it was what it was at the time. But what the Bible say, God protects two things, right? A fool, a fool and a baby, right? So at the time I was a fool.
Mhm.
I sure wasn't no baby, but I was a fool.
Yeah,
Yeah, nothing really serious happened, but that's because of church, though.
gotcha.
That's because of church. It wasn't nothing that I did smarter than anybody else. It was just church. It was mama's prayers.
Mhm. Yeah, and with me, it was a little bit, for me. It was a little different. I never forget the I was at a service when I was maybe about I want to say I was 19 at the time, 19, 20ish, and the speaker called me out and told me, said, listen, if you don't give your, the Lord told me to let you know, if you don't give your life to him, you will not see next year. And I can remember, I still remember it like it was yesterday, last week. I remember just at the altar saying, thank you, Lord, because now I can just party like a rock star for real. Because I know, you know, most people don't, the Bible says, you know, no man knows the day nor the hour. Here it is. I don't know the day nor the hour, but I know I won't see next year. So I might as well ride it till the wheels fall off. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go out here. I'm gonna smoke more than I ever smoked before. I'm gonna drink more than I ever drunk before. I'm gonna get as many women as I never got before. You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna get it while it's getting good, while I still got breath in my body. And it was weird how, like with me, like you said, I knew people were praying for me, but with me, mine was a little different because I honestly was living a double life. You know what I mean? I had that life that was inside the church, but when I would go to school, it was a different kind of pressure in the city to me. Not to say that people down south don't deal with the same pressure, but it's different when you're from the number blocks. You know what I mean? Anybody from up north know what I'm talking about. It's just different from when you dead smack in the hood, and it's like certain things are around you. And even though I was kind of oblivious to that because of the prayers and from being in church so much, it was like I didn't know how to appreciate that at that age. You know what I mean? Like you said, I just wanted to run away from it. I didn't want to be known as a church boy. I didn't want to be the cat that was known as being cold on the drum. You know what I mean? I wanted people to look at me and say, nah, like, you know what I mean? I want them to look at me the same way they look at everybody else walking up and down the street. You know what I mean? You see certain people, you better cross the street. And then some people, you will want to cross the street, but you better not cross the street, because if you do, then you're going to get jumped just because you cross the street. You know what I mean? It was just different. It was a different way of life that you had to learn how to adapt to if you wanted to survive. I can remember in elementary school, they used to play these commercials in school that they was like, I remember that it was a commercial called The Long Way Home, The Long Walk Home. And the boy might have lived maybe like right across the street from the school, or maybe like a block or two. But in the commercial, you see him running all through the neighborhood. He got to go all this way because he don't want to pass the drug dealers. He don't want to pass the prostitute. He could have been there just in 3 minutes. It take him 25 minutes to get to school because he's just trying to get this safe. And that was like a real thing for us. So, with me, it got to the point where it's like, the more I knew, the more I tried to run from it.
Yeah.
Because I knew the calling on my life. I knew I was never supposed to be just normal or regular, but I didn't want to be who God created me to be. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to work. I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want the responsibility. I didn't want none of that. I didn't want the pressure of letting God down, letting church folk down. So it was like I had all these different things going through my mind. So I just would go, but wow, I would go literally to the other end of the spectrum on the extreme level to try to rid myself of that. And it finally got to a place where, God visited me just like Jacob. I shared it on a previous show. One day I was sitting there in my apartment in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and I had just rolled me 5 back to back because I don't like to keep on going back and forth. I might as well just go to roll 5 now. That way I got one ready for Spider-Man. Then when Spider-Man go off, I can watch Judge Mathis, you know what I mean? And then, maybe watch me a karate flick or whatever the case may be. And that particular day, I had Jay-Z. It was Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt. I had Biggie, Life After Death, Ready to Die, and Nas Illmatic. Those are the only 3 CDs that I had in my CD player. And I got down, sat down on my chair, positioned everything like it needed to be, grabbed the light, lit up, boom. First song that comes on is Fred Hammond, No Weapon Formed Against You Shall Prosper. It won't work. I'm saying here, like, why is Fred playing? Fred my guy. Like, I probably seen Fred over 30 times live in person. I used to follow this mug all over the tri-state when I was younger. But this ain't in here, so I don't know why it's coming on. I get up, check CDs, boom, boom, boom. Everything check out, boom. We sit down and try this back again. Let's throw it on random this time. Same thing happened. Same exact song. Dude, I literally get up, I unplug the radio player from the wall. Lights go off and everything. There's no power. So I'm just gonna sit here. I'm gonna find some video show to watch while I'm listening. And while I'm flipping through the channels, before I could even find something to watch, the songs come back on the radio again without the radio being plugged in. And I dropped my lighter. I wasn't scared of anything because I knew exactly what it was. I didn't get scared. I dropped my lighter, got mad because I got so much green. And I was like, I cut the TV off and I said, okay, God, if you want my attention that bad, if you want me that bad, you have my attention now. You know, what is it that you want me to do? And even then, I gave my heart to Christ, but I still didn't want to accept the responsibility of all the things that he wanted me to do. You know, one of the things that I try to tell people to stop saying is, there's a scripture too that says the power of life and death is in the tongue. You know, I hear a lot of people always saying, man, if God would just tell me what it is that he want me to do, you know, if he would just tell me where to go, I would do it. It would be just that much easier. I'm like, stop saying that. You know, that sound good when you haven't heard it, but when you know, it's just that much harder. You know, I can remember a candid conversation with the Lord. He literally explained to me what it is that I was supposed to be doing. And dude, it made it that much harder. You know what I mean? So I always try to tell people, be careful how you pray those prayers, because sometimes you can't handle it. You know what I mean? No, God, you can't use me that way. The same way Moses said he couldn't use him to lead the people. He was a stutterer. You know what I mean? Like, we always got these excuses of why God can't use us. Well, God is saying, I know I'm the one that created you. I know what I created you for. So don't tell me what I can't use you to do. You know what I'm saying? Despite being a fool, like you say, and making bad decisions. You know, all things work together according to the good that love me. So therefore, I can do anything. You know what I mean? I can do things exceedingly and abundantly above you could ask a thing. So there's no situation that I can't turn around, I can't fix. And gradually, as I started to embrace that, it was it was an experience. It was definitely an experience. Like, sometimes I can't put it into words, but I always try to tell people, I try to encourage people on a personal level to really try to have that type of encounter with God, because it's priceless. Like I said, you can't put it into words. It's just something that you need personally, though. You know what I mean? It's good to have a relationship and be active in your local church and be committed and faithful and serving and all that did. But more importantly, man, I grew up in this thing, and I'll be real. I don't care who feelings I hurt. I've seen countless people that's faithful, that's dedicated to the church, at the church working, or unlock the door, last one to leave, and have no relationship with Christ whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? They so caught up in doing the norm and going about business as usual, where the relationship aspect of while we in ministry is totally gone. So I can't get with that. Like, I need us to all take personal accountability to say, you know what, there are certain steps that I need to take to be the individual that God created me to be. You know what I mean? I try to tell people all the time, and I'm gonna give it back to you after this, but I tell people all the time, when you get hired at a job, your first day there, you have no idea what it is, what your expectations are, where you punch in at, the schedule, how things go, your duties and your responsibilities, until what? A supervisor comes and tell you, how you doing today, Mr. Williams? Well, I'm gonna show you, give you a tour of the facility. This is where you're going. This is the locker room. This is where you're gonna clock in at. This is where you're gonna report to. This is gonna be your responsibilities, X, Y, Z. But until that happens, you don't know what they hired you to do. You know what I'm saying? Why don't we have that same mindset when it comes to spirituality and our walk with Christ? You know, we didn't have no choice in us being here. We didn't have no choice of where we was gonna be from, whether we was gonna be black or white, short, fat, tall, skinny, none of that. But yet, no, God put us here. So therefore, why not go to him to find out what it is that he put us here for? You know what I mean? I think a lot of times if we did that, or we had that mindset or approach, we could avoid a lot of hardships and just difficulties and troubles that we face in life. You know, but if you said that if you was kind of there and you teetered out a little bit, like what do you think that it was that transpired in your life, or what was it that made you make the decision to say, you know what, I'm at a place now where, you know, I got to really give God my all on my trial?
I guess the process started. It was a few years back when it had been a while since I had been out of church and stuff like that, and I finally I went back. one Sunday, just out of the blue, just went back to service, and the minister that was ministering that Sunday was in Sunday school. So when I walked up in there, I was sitting there, and like when you have a calling, and you're chosen, you can feel that tug. So when I was sitting there in Sunday school, I kept hearing it. I kept hearing the voice saying that I'm about to say something to you. I'm about to say something to you. That's what I kept hearing. So the minister, after Sunday school, he called me by my name and stuff like that, and he was just like, you gonna have to tell him yes, 100%. And he was like, you can either do it the easy way or the hard way, but you're gonna have to do it. So how God gave it to him and how he gave it to me was, you could either walk straight down the aisle to the pulpit, or you could jump over every pew, but you're gonna get there. You have no choice. You got to get there. So that always stuck with me when it really came into play. Oh yeah, I can't leave that out. He said, until you do everything that you touch or try to attempt to do, it ain't gonna work.
My God, that's wild.
So I actually began to see it happening. You know what I mean? Like everything that I would try to do, it would not work, regardless of what it was, whether it was work, whether it was friendships, relationships, whatever. It wasn't gonna work, and I didn't really notice it until probably about 2 years ago, and that's when I really knew that I have to be 100%, because many are called, few are chosen.
Yes, sir.
So it's a big difference in between being called and actually being chosen. Just like it's just like a job. They go over plenty of applicants and might call them, but only a certain few get the job. It's not something that we applied for, but being chosen, you don't have a choice.
Dude, that was one of my daily posts, I believe, last week or the week before. And me being a church cat, it's like I tell people, man, once again, it ain't no hate, but me personally, I'm weary of people that want to be that in ministry and want to be this great preacher, this here, that there, because most of the time, the ones that really are chosen, called and chosen, is the last thing in the world that they want. So I'll be kind of skeptical about people that want to be in the forefront, that's looking for that limelight, that want hundreds and thousands of members and all that there, because then the first thing I question is, why are you in ministry?
Right.
Are you in ministry for the glam and the glitz? You want people to praise you? Or do you want the houses and the cars and recognition and all of that there? Or are you in it for what we all should be in ministry is about at the end of the day, which is nothing more than winning souls? Point blank, period. I think that need to be the only focus on the vision statement as far as ministry goes. I don't care what your background is, whether you Kojic, whether you Pentecostal, whether you holiness. You're supposed to be in the kingdom building business, which means winning souls. So I be kind of skeptical about these people that, you know what, the Lord called me and this. Okay, if you say so, you know what I mean?
That's the thing. Everybody, neither you or I say those things. A lot of people say it just to hear themselves talk. You know what I mean? I don't have to go around saying, yeah, the Lord called me to do this. He chose me to do that. It was to a point where I didn't even want people to know, because it wasn't a burden, but it was like certain things you see, certain things you feel, sometimes strangers will come up to you and say things that you done heard 10 times over.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just to the point where it was like, okay, yeah, I hear, almost redundant in one ear, out the other. You know what I mean? But man, dude, like this last time, dude, I couldn't even turn on one gospel song without the whole thing coming over me. Not one. I don't care whether or not it was an old hymn, whether or not it was the new contemporary. It didn't matter.
And that's that love affair.
Yeah, if I played any kind of gospel song, regardless, I mean, like it just it ain't no denying that right there whatsoever. Ain't no denying it. Can't do it. Can't do it.
So you just think that it was? Do you think that it was something that he did internally to help you make that decision?
Yeah, it was inside out.
Okay, yeah,
Inside out.
and I get that because I tell people all the time I don't think that, you know, many times people I hate hearing the saying like, "Well, I don't deserve this," or "I shouldn't have to go through that." Why is this happening to me? You know what I mean? I've never seen Jesus ask any of those questions whatsoever. If I'm supposed to be a Christian and I'm supposed to be Christ-like, that was not his major concern. Well, why I gotta die on the cross? Why I gotta die for people that don't even believe in me? You know what I mean? Like he never complained about the task at hand and his purpose. And you mentioned the word burden. It's not really, for me, it was a burden. It was a burden. I always looked at it like a gift and a curse. You know, there's a perk to this thing, but at the same time, it's just like I'm a firm believer that anything in life worth having is worth going through for.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I might get persecuted, I might get lied on, I might, you know what I mean, be painted in a bad light. But at the end of the day, no matter where I am, I'm never alone. God is there with me. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, as long as I stay true to him, then guess what? I'm gonna be all right. You know what I mean? But I think a lot of times we get so misconstrued, and we were talking a little bit yesterday about, you know, all these yes men and people just like, dude, I can't get with that. Like, I don't need people in my corner that's intimidated by me or scared because I'm so outspoken, so to speak, and so passionate about certain things. I don't never want you to dump down how you feel if you say that you love me because you don't want that smoke, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, no, keep it real with me because that's what real love does. You know what I mean? I don't need nobody no, bro, you about to jump out the window and that's a bad decision. You know what I mean? You need people in your corner that's like that, and I don't think that is enough of us that's like that. That we say we love each other and we say we there for each other, but how many times you say that and then somebody's the same dude in the car with you, he get out the car, man, that fool, this here and that there. That ain't genuine love. And I don't need people in my corner like that there. I need people that's gonna help me grow and help me. You know, nah, man, listen, I want to have a drink tonight. Nah, don't don't buy me around. Nah, bro, let's take it to the crib. You know what I mean? Let's help each other grow in these personal things because we all have vices. We all have these different things that we have to deal with. But with the help of Christ, they are doable. And I think we need to start focusing on that a little bit more, helping each other in those capacities. You know, one of the things that I always share is, you know, the scripture that says, you know, confess your faults one to another. That's not telling you to put your business out there so I can go put it in the streets. It's so that I know how to pray for you and what particular areas to pray for you in. You see what I'm saying? Because it said, what is that? The scripture says, where there are 2 or 3 gathered in his name, guess what? There he is in the midst. But I don't need to be praying for you. I say it all the time. I don't need to be praying for your finances, and you got a gambling habit that I don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? But I only know that when we able to humble ourselves and be vulnerable with one another, and then attack that thing together. You know, we need more people like that there, as opposed to just, like I say, these churches just growing numbers, and you got more people in here, but you're losing just as many. Like, where is the spiritual growth at? Where is the blind in that? Where do you see? Do you see the growth? I always try to tell people, even on a personal level, I would question myself spiritually if I didn't see any growth within myself within 6 months to a year. You know what I mean? Because there's no way in the world that you should be spending that much time in prayer, spending that much time with God, and you still the same person 10 years after coming to know it. Or you read the same scripture and it means the same exact thing to you. I learned that at an early age. There's been plenty of times where I would go read the same, and the word never changed. But with growth, the significance and the meaning of those scriptures should change from time to time. You'll start to see more things as you mature and spiritually. You know what? There's a little bit more meat and gravy to that than I initially thought it was. It sounded good before, but now I know how to apply it and put faith into action. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's vital that we get people in our corner that we know that can kind of help us with that. You know, we at that time now where we wrapping up, and thank God Almighty, I can stop receiving phone calls and texts from Wyoming, Idaho, and everything else this time next week. You know what I mean? I can't wait for this election to be over. But it's like, we got to get back to the basics some kind of way, you know, loving each other, supporting each other, whether it's just, and everything ain't always spiritually based either. You know what I mean? Let's be real about it. You know, I shared something with you the other night. You know, one thing that I learned on a personal level was, I don't care what your status may be, God, if your heart is in the right place, as long as your heart is willing and you really want to attempt at pleasing God, He has no respect to person. God will meet you wherever it is that you're at.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not to say that, because what happens is, if you out here prostituting, or if I'm out here hoeing myself, you know what I mean, and I say, you know what, God, I want to give you my all. It don't mean I might not necessarily stop hoeing overnight or the same night, but I also have seen situations where the Bible has proven itself true too. Behold, now I am a new creature. So guess what? I'm not a hoe anymore. You know what I mean? I'm not a gambler anymore. So, you know, with those baby steps though, and as you develop that relationship, you might be still home, but guess what? Like you talked about, all of a sudden when that conviction started to come in, you know what? God can't dwell in this. I can't really be with God. I can't really say I love God, but I'm still living like this too. When those consequences start to weigh you on you, then you know that now you're starting to get there. You're starting to see more spiritual growth, because now you're feeling convicted. Whereas before you didn't feel no conviction. So I'm trying to tell people, don't, that's a whole nother subject, but don't confuse conviction with guilt.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Because conviction is good for it. Conviction is good for the soul. It help keep us back in line. And sometimes it help us get back on track when we should, you know what I mean? When we kind of veer to the left, you know, but I kind of, like I said, I wanted to get in that because I watch your post and I read your post and I can't tell you the particular time, but I did see the change just from your post. Like, you know, look, man, it's time out for play. You know, God is this here and God is that. Then I said, you know what? God been doing some things in his life. You know what I mean? And I'm proud of you, man. Just keep on going forward, man. Don't detract. You know what I mean? You got people that support you. And most of all, like I said, when you feel like it ain't nobody else there with you, it don't matter. It don't nobody pick up the phone. It don't matter, don't nobody write you letters. You know, you can always get on your knees. You know what I mean? That's the key, that people got to understand something. Like, dude, we're never alone. I don't care what you face or what you're going through with. You don't never have to go with it alone. Even if you don't have anybody there physically go through there with you, you're never alone. He said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. But if you don't come to him, he said he gives us free will too. But he's not going to make you put him priority in his life or come to him. No, that you have to do that of your own free will. But I guarantee if you come to him correct, he won't lead you astray. He won't abandon you, man. So, man, we're gonna wrap up soon, but before we wrap up, I wanted to get into the whole one of my friends in Jersey had posted something today about the numbers going up with the COVID. And I kind of wanted you to talk about that there and just your feelings on it. And my thing, what I wanted to put out there on it was, despite what you may believe or your feelings on it, because me and my friends, we have our personal conversations, and they know my take on it, and a lot of them don't agree with it, whatever the case may be. But one thing I try to tell people is, regardless of how you feel about it, whether you think it's a hoax, whether you think it's the government or it's man-made, it don't really matter what at this point what we think it is real. There are people that's dying. You know what I mean? At this point, it doesn't really matter. One thing that we do know is it's not fake. It might not be what they telling us it is, but it's not fake. So I would really encourage people to, stay safe out here. I'm not big on the mask either. And I don't put a mask on every time I go somewhere. I don't. That's just me. Because I don't, that's a whole nother thing too, because I don't, like I said, I don't see that's for another day, another topic. But when I do go in places where the other people congregate, I go in the supermarket or something like that there, I'm going to put a mask on regardless of how I feel. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I want to protect myself. I want to protect them too. So people, let's get the information out there. And I forgot because I wanted to hit on it, but I wanted to pull the numbers up here in North Carolina. Do you even know about the numbers here? Like, are we seeing more now, or?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, what I've been hearing on the radio, I don't know how true all that is, but they talking about it's at an all-time high, but everything is still open. I don't know the numbers or anything like that. Never really checked the numbers about COVID and stuff like that. I just, just try to protect myself, because that's all you really can do with this. You really can't protect nobody else.
Yeah.
But, people still out there really not taking it seriously. But at the end of the day, I believe we all gonna get it at some point in time. Whether you kick through it, some not. I just got that feeling we all gonna get it. Some at some point, we might have already had it and didn't even know it, and it just passed. I don't know, but it's the new norm. People gonna have to get used to it. I don't foresee it going anywhere. I don't think it's gonna go away.
Yeah, definitely not anytime soon. And I know right now is a whole debate with the numbers. It's funny how the conspiracy theories. I love conspiracy theories. Some of them are legit, some of them not. But I just love to look at them anyway. But it's a big thing now where a lot of them are. Well, it's funny that the spike will go up, or the second wave will hit right before the election. It's a scare tactic where they don't want people to go out to the polls and vote, and different tactics and things like that there. And it could be some validity to that there. It could be, I don't know that it is, I don't know that it's not. But at the end of the day, I think that we all need to err on the side of caution, and be safe. Stay in the house as much as possible. You know what I mean? That was one of my whole things that was one of my problems with when it first came out. And even now, even all this time later, we've almost been dealing with this for almost for a year now. And, we talking about a disease that's killing people. And the best thing you can tell me to do is wash my hands and stay 6 feet away from somebody and keep a mask on.
Keep a mask on, exactly.
Dude, that ain't enough.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I should have been washing my hands every day, all day anyway. You know what I mean? So you're just telling me to do things that I should have already been doing besides the mask. And who to say that the mask can either protect me? I always find it funny that we rarely, if at all, see these numbers of people that so supposedly test positive that were mask wearers faithfully. You know what I mean? So they not, I think there's a reason why they're not showing us this here. Mark Twain had I seen Denzel Washington say it, but it came from Mark Twain as a quote that says, if you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read the newspaper, you're misinformed. And I think there's a lot of validity to that. Whether it's the newspaper, whether it's the news, it's like I tell people, man, just because it's on the news don't make it true.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Like, only thing they're gonna put on the news is what they want you to know.
Mm-hmm.
How many truths are too embarrassing, too confrontational that we never know about because they don't want us to know about it? You know, that's why I try to tell people at the end of the day, even with the, if anything that the pandemic should have taught us is like we got to stop all this black and white, this racism, and we got to stop all this classism because at the end of the day, we are one race. We are the human race. You know what I mean? But that's what I always find it funny that the media, I blame the media for a lot of racism. I honestly do. Because like we talked about earlier with those stigmas, a lot of times all we seen about people from North Carolina was them being Frank Lucas being on the farm before he come up north. Or, you know what I'm saying? There's always some old pig cow order, you know, the Woolworth stories in Greensboro, you know, stuff like that there. But it was always that, you know, it was always that country type portrayal. Not to know that when I come down to places like Winston-Salem, they call Fayetteville Vietnam. You know, Fayetteville hooded in some parts of New York. You know what I'm saying? But the same thing with up there. You know, you got people in the north that only time they see New York undercover or, you know, one of these New York detective shows and all that there, they think all the brothers is out to get them. But no, that's not reality. You know, you know, we look at the news, we see black on black crime. We see racism. We see like, why is it that y'all putting this stuff on the news? Because all y'all trying to do is fuel the fire. You're not talking about the dude that when the author that killed his wife and murdered his kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They're not talking about, they're not covering that on the news like they covering all the tension when an officer shoots a black young man. You know what I mean? So I try to tell people, man, be conscious of that. That not to say that all of it's fake and not to say that we don't matter and all that. I don't care about all of that. What I'm saying is don't fall for the propaganda. You know what I'm saying? Educate yourself and be a little bit more smarter, man. If anything, I when I look up and down my timeline, I was kind of disappointed with the pandemic for the simple fact, like, I felt like this, if anything else, this pandemic was allowed to happen. I'm not saying that God caused coronavirus. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is it was allowed to happen because I believe that it was a certain point for a lot of us to do self-evaluation and get a lot of things in check and educate ourselves. And instead of us growing strong in our faith, whatever it may be, whether it's Allah, whether it's Christ, whatever it is, whether you believe it, instead of us reaching out and tapping in and growing our faith and educating ourselves or trying to get as much information as we can about the disease and the voters' rights and who it is that we're voting for, you know, that then we kind of missed the ship. You know, we talked about that earlier. You know, I kind of wanted to push, you know, for those that haven't got out and voted yet to get out there and vote this week. But at the same time, you know who, educate yourself on who you're voting for. You know, I'm almost flabbergasted. And I understand the frustration. Yeah, Trump must go and we want to get him out of office and all that there. But do you even know who you're voting for? Do you know anything about anybody on the ballot other than the presidential race? You know what I mean? Like I said here, when I went to go vote in North Carolina, it might have been 80 names on there. I knew 4 of them. Mm-hmm. You know, the presidential candidates, and then the Tom Tillis, and he the one that cheated on it, and then the guy that he running up against. Can't think of his name. It just slipped his name just slipped my mind. That's all you heard here in North Carolina. It's just those 4 names, but you got all these other names on here. Like, I'm supposed to vote, but how can I educate myself on who it is that I'm actually voting for? I've never heard of half of these people before. So, you know, educate yourself, people. That's why I said I was kind of disappointed because on my timeline, instead of us doing some of this stuff, educating ourselves and talking about good books that we read or good revelation that we had or encounter that we had with Christ, it is we talking about what we've been watching and shows to just watch all day, which is just dumbing us down even more. You know, how is me being caught up on power in my life? Or my being for the afterlife. You know what I mean? We know what goes in Tommy was up to, like that's not helping me. Like, we steady binge watching, or what's a good show to be watching. That I think a lot of we can be using some of this time to educate ourselves and just better ourselves pretty much. You know what I'm saying? But before we wrap up, speak on that on your take on that, the whole thing, and just people getting the information that they need and stuff.
People gotta educate themselves. But it's not going on because they almost been brainwashed growing up into adulthood as far as Republicans are for the rich and Democrats is for the poor.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty much been it's been just like a message that we always had to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like people still have that same mentality when it's not even about Republican or Democrat or whatever, liberals or whatever. It's just about right and wrong. That's what it's about right now. But people also got to understand, my opinion, a lot of people going to vote for the lesser of two evils.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah,
you getting.
And let's keep it real. We know that. That's obvious. There's enough people, especially in our community, that hate Trump that they gonna vote for Biden regardless. They're gonna vote for Harris regardless of what their resumes say, rather what the information say, like the facts.
Mm-hmm.
I think we so anti-Trump that I think, like you said, I think a lot of us are willing to push the facts underneath the rug, so to speak. And I don't think that that's right. Just like it wasn't right, in my opinion. Like you say, we can speak our minds on here. Like in my opinion, it wasn't right to just vote for Barack Obama because he was black.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Vote for this one because he is the best candidate that represents you, not just because he's black. You know what I mean? And I get that. That's just the nature of the business. So always have those people that, well, man, listen, I got to stick with the brother and all that thing. But what if the brother get in office and he put all this in things? How you gonna feel about him then? You know what I'm saying? It ain't play out like that. But I'm just saying, don't be no fool. You know what I mean? I have a problem, and I shared that with you. And I have no problem with saying it, but I have a problem with a white man telling me that if I don't vote for him, I ain't really black. First of all, you can't speak on my blackness whatsoever, point blank, period, bro. Because you ain't black. You know what I mean? So who are you to be telling me that I ain't black if I don't vote for you? That's overstepping your boundaries as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? But that's another thing. That's like a whole other thing, because especially like with our older people, well, the Democrats, we got to stick with the Democrats. We got to stick with the Democrats. And I feel like it's to the point where we're dealing with like plantations owners back in the day where I take care of my niggas. I take care of my slaves. So I don't have to worry about them trying to run off. You know what I mean? Because I don't show them the whip all 5 days a week. I just treat them bad when they act up. So they gonna stay loyal to me. You know what I mean? And I feel like the Democratic Party take advantage of black folks in the same exact manner. I don't feel like it's no different. And we have to find a way and a narrative how to change these things to where not only our voices are being heard, but they are relevant. You know what I'm saying? We got to be at the table to make a change. I don't think that when we talking about a nation with millions of people, that we should only have two options.
Yeah.
Like, why is that? Why does it have to be either or? Like, how is it that we reconstruct the system of voting, how it's set up or whatever else, the government, powers that be, to where it's more of an even playing field? And I'm not saying I'm not saying that every time a coach in the NFL get fired, a black coach supposed to get at least interviewed and all that there, because I think that's another hypocritical rule. Like, don't invite me in here knowing that you're not gonna bring me just because you're trying to save face. The whole Rooney rule. Just because I'm black, well, we gotta meet a quota. So we gonna bring him in knowing that we ain't gonna give him no job, just for the look. It looks good. Looks like we giving everybody an opportunity. Nah, man, I don't want to be a part of that farce. And I feel the same way in politics, man. So we got to do something to change this, control this narrative, and make our voices be heard. Because I heard Earthquake talking about something earlier today. You know, he was kind of funny with it. But he was like, yo, don't get it twisted. He said, I'm a vote for Biden, but the day after he get in, I'm gonna be right back there on the lawn too, talking about this mug and his tax proposal, because that ain't gonna work either. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm gonna help you get in there, but guess what? As soon as you get in there, I'm coming knocking on your door. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I like that mentality. I think a lot of us need to have that type of mentality. Like, yo, if we put you in this position, now it's time for you to hear us. Not just hear us out of empathy or out of patience or thinking that you kind of know. Really hear us, bro. You know, because things have got to change, you know, from entrepreneurs to the classes to minimum wage, all across the board, man. A lot of things have got to change. We can't keep going the way that we have been. But with that note, man, I want to thank you for your time, man. I appreciate you coming out. Thanks, Yvette. Yeah, it was Cal Cunningham. Those, like I said, those are the only two names I heard other than the presidential race. You know, Tom, and then Cal Cunningham. And then everything, the only thing you know about them is what you see on the commercial. He cheated on his wife. Right. So that's the whole big thing on him. Not what kind of politician is he or what kind of policies does he have. Like, we can't put him in office because he cheated on his wife. Well, how many times his wife cheated on him? That's a whole other conversation. How many other people do it? But that's what neither here nor there. But again, I want to thank you for your time. Hopefully, I have a good show for you guys next week. If you haven't voted already, get out there and vote again and educate yourself on who it is that you're voting for. Even if you have to remember the names that you vote for, like I did. There was some names I voted for. And I said, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm writing these names down because I'm sure about to go and do some research on them to see exactly who it is I just voted for. You know what I'm saying? So I don't make the same mistake the second time around. You know. So with that, I'm gonna try to have a special show for us next week. Being that it'll be the night election, I got a congressman that I want to have on, not a congressman, a councilman that I want to have on, maybe another politician or so, and people that was helping out at the polls and stuff like that there. Well, we'll determine that between now and next week. But Trelle, did you have anything you want to say to the people before we bounce?
Oh, that's about it.
All right.
Yeah, man. Hopefully they listen. Hopefully they took something in, get something out of it.
I'm with you, Yvette. I'm gonna be that change. I'm gonna need you with me though. We're gonna represent Jersey down in North Carolina. Having said that, know that I love you guys, man. And until the next week, DeAndre and Lysha, know that Daddy loves you intentionally, but I also love you unconditionally. Peace.